Hello, everyone. We're back from a little break, and we're going to have a great opportunity to put General Hyten back on with us and have him visit with his good and great friend Chris Miller, Lieutenant General Chris Miller. They're going to expand a little bit on the thoughts that they had in a little bit more detail about space. And we've got General Hyten with us there, and we've got General Miller. So, Chris, I want to say hello. I want to say thank you. Thank you for being our host today and helping put this thing together. And I hope you have a great conversation. I know you'll have a great conversation with the general, and we'll be back when you're done.
Okay, well, you're very welcome, David. General Hyten, great to see you, sir.
Good to see you, Chris. That's a good backdrop.
Yeah, I figured, it's kind of the space air boundary, which is kind of where I'm living these days. It's an honor to get a chance to chat with you. You started a little bit after I did in Air Force Blue, and you finished quite a bit after I did. And I think the two of us had a chance to live through some really amazing, informative times in air and space power. And so I just would like to kind of get your thoughts on a couple of things that you didn't touch on in that great conversation with Sir Richard and Jason and David. I think one of the most interesting things about your comment on innovation and the importance of audacious goals is that you not only were able to do that in a whole variety of assignments over your 40 years, but you also did something that I think is much more difficult, and that is figure out ways to allow people to take smart risk inside big bureaucratic organizations. And I wonder if you could kind of give us just a couple of minutes of thought on how did that look in practice? How did you incentivize your people to be open, to be aggressive, to be smart about doing things that the system didn't necessarily want them to do?
But it was real interesting to me. And Jay Raymond talked a little bit about when he replaced theater 16 years ago. The year I was in theater, or 6 months I was in theater, I learned more about risk. That's when we met. We met up at Bagram.
Yep.
I learned more about risk, and what fascinated me about what I learned was that our military culture understands risk, I think, better than almost any culture in the world, because in the most horrible environment, in the most challenging of times, in war, we understand when to take risk and when not to take risk. And we empower our youngest people. We'll empower a young Army staff sergeant with a platoon of 4 in a lethal environment in a village in Afghanistan to employ lethal force on an adversary, if necessary, to defend himself or to accomplish an objective. But it has to be legal, it has to be ethical, it has to be all those things that we've been trained. But we are unbelievably empowered to take that risk. And then I come back into the bureaucracy of the Pentagon, and those same people can't even decide whether to start a program or not. And we fight through this amazing bureaucracy. So inherently, we understand what risk is and we understand how to take it. We just have to figure out how to do it in everything that we do accordingly. And then I look back at my legends that, lucky enough, I'm old enough, I got to meet. I got to meet von Braun, I got to meet Schriever, I got to meet Doolittle, I got to meet so many amazing people that took risk early on, and did amazing things because of that. And I wondered, why did we lose it? Because I saw that same risk understanding in theater. So why don't we do it every day? So I said, from that day forward, I'm just going to start trying to apply that same risk-based model. Now, that doesn't mean we do stupid things. That means we take chances where those chances have huge payoffs. And every once in a while, you're going to fail. And when that person fails, as long as you haven't made an enormous mistake that kills somebody that does something like that, that's just part of learning. I challenge everybody on this to think back during their formative years in college, their young early days of their career. I bet you they can remember, every one of them, learning the most from the failures that they made. But it's not because they stopped, it's because they learned something that they can then apply and move forward. So risk is just something that we do, but we lost that in certain elements of our military, and we still have struggle with it. We're going to have to get that back.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great perspective. If you think about the formation of the Space Force and the back and forth over airspace, aerospace, and all of the ways that we've tried to conceptualize domains that literally encircle the planet. The Space Force is, I think, off to an amazing start, with much credit to you and General Raymond and others who envisioned it. How do you see the Space Force maturing over the next few years, and what do you think are the both the strengths and the less strong things that our guardians need to concentrate on as they take that service to literally new heights?
I'll try to give two positives, and there's a lot of big positives to choose from, and then I'll talk about two negatives. I think the biggest positives by far are the creation of this cadre of unbelievably intelligent, motivated, excited people that are focused on this critical domain and ready to move forward as fast as the country will let them. And they're ready to go. All you have to do is point them in the right direction and they're going to go. And General Raymond and the leadership in the Space Force did an amazing job of kind of pulling the people in, hand selecting people from all the services. I've met 20-year lieutenant colonels. I'm sitting at a dinner with a 20-year lieutenant colonel in the United States Army, and he's going to leave the Army and join the Space Force after over 20 years in the Army. And, you know, that's his culture. That's who he is. But his passion for the future is going to put him into the Space Force. So that creation of people and structure is just amazing. I think the second big advantage is this focus on warfighting and focus on the adversary, understanding exactly what the adversary is, exactly what the adversary is doing, and understanding the need to move effectively against that. I think everything is there to allow that to happen. So those are the two big positives. I think two negatives that I worry about. Number one is we still have not cracked the code on how to move fast in acquisition. The Congress of the United States, in the 2019 Defense Authorization Act that created the Space Force, that was signed by the president, and that went into action in December of 2019, gave the Space Force basically a blank sheet of paper to define their acquisition process, how they want to move fast. And General Raymond and his team put together an approach, and they couldn't get it through the bureaucracy for 2 years. The entire time I was there as the vice chairman, it never made it through the bureaucracy all the way back to Congress. That you can't even get a process back to Congress, much less a program. And now they're being criticized by the Appropriations Committee for trying to do too much too fast. Well, I don't know if anybody's looked, but the threat is real. It exists today. You better be doing a lot really fast, and you better be taking some chances. And that means you're going to fail every once in a while. And I would hope that the Appropriations Committee understands that they're going to have to start taking risk in appropriations as well. I know they don't like to do that because that puts Americans' tax dollars at risk, but our future as a nation's at risk if we don't figure out how to do this. So we still haven't put into place a fully formed acquisition process that can move fast enough, and we've got to do that. And the second piece I worried about is the future nature of what a joint space officer is. Because for those of you that are military, a joint officer is somebody that can work effectively with the other services, that has spent time working with the other services. That's where the joint staff comes from. That's where combatant commands come from. That's where the warfighting really comes to fruition in a joint environment, not in a service environment. The services, the Space Force, the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, they're just force providers to a joint force that actually has to do things. So we're going to have to create joint expertise in the Space Force. And right now, I understand it's early, and I understand it's only 3 years, but you just have to start thinking about, how do I place people so I bring space into the Army, space into the other combatant commands, space into different services. Start expanding that knowledge and getting everybody to understand that the integration of not just land, sea, and air, but space and cyberspace is going to be just as important. So those are the two things I worry about. But overall, I'm pretty excited about where it's going, and the direction is really good. I think that the leadership of the force has done a great job in moving it there. The bureaucracy is just really tough sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're probably going to have time for maybe one more topic. So I'm torn between asking you for your vision of what future defense and commercial cooperation looks like, and how much, for example, the commercial enterprises can drive some urgency into defense acquisition, or just asking you, as you look back on your 40 years of maturing the nation's space capability, what was your biggest takeaway? What was the kind of gem of a lesson that you have taken into retirement, and that you're now going to take into exciting the next generation of young Americans?
I tell you, Chris, when I look at what it's going to take to excite the next generation of young Americans, it's the same thing that excited you. It's the same thing that excited me. It's the same thing that's going to excite our kids. And in many cases, I don't know what that is, but I know it's something that's different. And the neat thing about space is it's always different. We have only scratched the surface. And in the video that Virgin did with Richard Branson, or Sir Richard Branson, a while ago, he talked about there's more stars in the universe than sand on the planet Earth, and grains of Earth. That's true. We've only scratched the surface. We've only been to the moon. We have no earthly idea what is really out there. And as you start expanding, and you get kids to start thinking about, hey, that could be me. I could actually go do that. I could be exploring Mars, and I could be building the things that'll explore the solar system, and then beyond the solar system. And I can build the telescope that can see out to the solar system beyond our solar system. And I can build all of these things and learn. That's when the exciting comes from. I think when you look at my career, I think the most important thing is, integrity and honesty. I think you're working for the center at the academy that's looking at character development, and it's really pretty simple when it comes right down to there's a right and a wrong, and you have to be honest. And we're human beings, and we're going to make mistakes. And when you make a mistake, it's really important to stand up and say, hey, I made a mistake. This is what I was thinking. This is what I'm doing. Now we're going to go this direction. And when you're honest with people, people will follow you. And the moment you're not honest, they will not follow you anymore. So you have to be able to stand up and do the right thing in order to move forward. And then you have to create that audacious vision that captures the mind and the spirit of the people that you work with. Because when that happens, then leadership is a whole lot easier, because then I actually need to get out of the way. When you reach the point where your organization is moving a little faster than you are, the tendency is to kind of jump in front of it and say, hey, slow down. Now that's the point where you have to say, I'm going to step back and just watch them go. And then when they get off the rails a little bit, I'm going to jump back in and put them back on. But when they're going fast, for gosh sakes, let them go. One of my favorite stories, I think you've heard it, my great-grandfather was a hero of mine. I was named John Earl after him. And he taught me many, many things. but one of the great things he taught me, because he liked horses, he liked horse races, and he said, "John, you know how you make a horse run fast?" I said, "No, Papa, how do you do that?" He said, "You let him run, because that's what horses like to do. You
Yep.
rein them in to slow them down. So you got to let them run." It's the same with people. If you give them some rein and you let them run, it's amazing what they can do. So I know I touched on a bunch of things in your question, but you know, it really is, it's that simple and that complex all in one.
That's a great lesson, sir. I just have to add one personal reflection. When you mentioned seeing a Saturn V launch, my best friend in high school and I had tickets to go from Northern Virginia on the train down to Florida to watch Apollo 10, and the launch got scrubbed for weather, and we lost our opportunity. But I sometimes wonder what that would have been like, and I hope you have great success in continuing to inspire people you work with and those that you influence. So thank you very much, and congratulations again on a truly well-deserved award.
And thanks to Jason. Thanks to everybody for this. I enjoyed the conversation. It's always good to see you, Chris. We're gonna have to see each other in Colorado, though.
Sounds good.
Play golf there, right, Chris?
That's right.
All right.
Thank you, General Hyten, and again, congratulations, well deserved. Thanks so much for your time, and General Miller, great job. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
We really appreciate both of you, all you do, all your service, but today was just very special. So a giant thank you to both. Be safe.